We are now going to talk about the palette window and the layout of the software interface for the Lumen8 console series. There's different layouts that you can choose when setting up Lumen8. So by default, you will see the screen just like you see on the preview here in front of you, where basically you have two palette windows and you can simultaneously select different types or different traits from each side. And then so that gives you the flexibility to have your two most used traits visible at all times. In settings, though, under advanced, you can also go into a 3-palette mode. And a 3-palette mode basically gives you one extra palette. And again, you can choose to have, for instance, color here, or maybe groups, color, and then gobo. And so that gives you the ability to see all those windows at the same time. And again, if you need a more simplistic view, you can do the 1-palette view, where basically you will see just the one palette, and it gives you a little bit more room depending on your screen size. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the 2-palette mode. And so what you will see is when you open the palettes and you have fixtures selected. So keep in mind, you do have to have fixtures selected for the available palettes to show up. And these palettes are directly generated from the fixture profile. So all these were automatically created when you patched the fixture, and so you don't have to actually create any of these. You can remove them, and I'll show you that in just a second. But let me talk about these numbers below the palettes. So what those numbers mean is on the Surface console, when you hit, for instance, color, and again, all the hard buttons are attached to this palette on the right side of the screen. So if I hit the color button on my Surface, I will see all the color palettes available below, and you'll see that there's a number below each one. That number references the shortcut key or the assignable key on top. So when I'm in programming mode, which I am now, you will see those 19 buttons backlight to let you know that you have direct access to picking any of those colors on the console. Likewise, if I move to gobo, those 16 are available, and so I'll have a direct access to view those 16 buttons, and I can press them to activate the gobo that I'd like. One other thing I'd like to show you here is the wheels, the encoder wheels above the 8 submasters that you'll see on the Surface and also on the station. Those are encoder wheels that can directly control trait wheels. So for instance, if I'm in color, you'll see that the color traits that are available now become assigned to those encoders. And if I go to gobo, you'll see the first wheel will be the gobo 1, or the first gobo wheel. And so you'll see all the traits for gobo. Shutter, the same thing. So for each of the different palettes, the encoder functionality will change to give you direct access to as many traits as you need. I quickly want to note here about the color picker. When dealing with RGB fixtures, you'll notice there's a checkbox up here. If it's checked, then when you select a color from the color palette up here, it will mix the amber and white as well into that fixture if the fixture is capable of doing that. It's unchecked by default because normally if you do that, you're going to wash out some of your color. But again, I wanted to show you that we have the ability to mix the white and the amber based on this color palette. Also want to note that on the right side here, you can click the different color palette modes. So you'll have the wide spectrum color, and also keep in mind with the Surface, the pan and tilt wheel will control the location of this square. So you can use your pan and tilt wheel when in color mode to navigate what color you would like. It was kind of a neat feature. So again, you can go into normal mode, you can go into RGB mode, which gives you the solid colors. You can also go into color temp mode, which has different color temps of white. Then the common Roscoe and Lee filters, they're also available there. So again, if you have RGB fixtures, you're going to directly change those from that palette. Also wanted to show you again, earlier I talked about having these numbers below the presets. So we have 32 buttons up there on top on the surface. And so those, again, are directly assigned here. So if I hit 31, I'll get this preset or RGB effects. Keep in mind then, if you hit the RGB effects button again, then you'll get the next page, and you'll notice that the edit page here changes to 2. So you can have multiple pages of presets, and again, that gives you the flexibility to hit these buttons and have a very direct hardware control of these traits and have multiple pages of them. Want to continue to talk about fader, direct fader control. We have these trait wheels in categories. Again, when you hit color, gobo, you'll see these trait wheels change. But sometimes you want just direct access to the faders. And again, the same thing happens when you hit the faders button. You'll get however many faders fit on your first page. And on the surface, you can hit next and previous here, and you're able to jump around and select the fader that you want. When using Lumen8 in conjunction with the touchscreen, you can click one of the faders. As soon as it becomes green, then your select wheel now becomes direct modification to that channel. So you can directly just touch the fader that you want and then tap or turn the select wheel on the surface to change those traits. I will now move on to the joystick shape and fanning. So we're going to go ahead and for this illustration, I'm going to select some fixtures. So basically, you can just rubber band them. You can also, from your 10 key, select 1 through 12, enter. You can also get them from the group. So you see we have our groups here. So I can select them from the pre-made groups, or you can create your own groups. So I've selected my fixtures here, and actually, yes, okay. So we're going to do that again. We're going to select the group. I'm going to go ahead and initialize them. That will center them and turn them on. I wanted to show you fixture fanning. And again, on the 8 encoder wheels on top of the submasters, you'll see fan pan and fan tilt. Those 2 wheels directly control these faders, and that allows you to fan your fixtures as needed. So if you wanted to fan them out that way or this way, you can directly use these encoder wheels on the surface or the station, or you can move them here in the software on the touchscreen. And again, I'll go into this later, but then you can apply a movement shape and change the offset and XY size of that shape. Quickly want to go over group creation. So let's say we wanted to create this left group. We would use our touchscreen to select those 2 fixtures. I'm going to create new group. I'll call it side L. And again, this can be entered via the 32 keys on top of the surface. So then now I have quick access to that group. Group creation is extremely easy. One last thing I wanted to point out here is if we have a trait that has a range, for instance, if we have a strobe range, if I hit, for instance, on the surface the 5 key there, then you'll notice this little fader pops up here. And again, your select wheel can now directly alter that strobe value because it's a range. So if a preset contains a range, you're able to set that range using the select wheel. That's the basic overview of the palette screen. There's much more to it, but this is a quick start video, so we just wanted to quickly get you guys up to speed. We'll do more in-depth videos explaining our matrix option and some of the RGB effects and other things that you can do with Lumen8. Thanks again for watching the video. Up next, we're going to talk about creating a static and moving look and saving it to our visual cue list.